Hello, welcome back to Old Hickory's Canameds. We're doing things a little different these days at Old Hickory's versus mixing up a tank full of synthetic nutrients and dosing our plants like that in a drain-to-waste system. I'm switching over to a living soil, like a biodynamic, 100% organic. It's got worms in the beds. We've got a cover crop of a lot of clover in it, just different crops that will keep the moisture in, keep everything alive. You know, we've got one room that we've already done a full crop of this in. It's really just the healthiest crop I've ever really had. You know, it didn't suffer in the yield really at all versus using the chemicals on it. And so from now on, we're definitely going to go with the living soil. And so today we're going to go ahead and mix up some beds. These are 2 foot by 4 foot beds. They go right inside the old 2 by 4 flood tables that I've got. All right, well, let's get to mixing this soil up and get these living beds established. Much better. Now we're professionals at it. Now we'll weigh out our organic fertilizer. We're going to do per bed 1.5 pounds of the grow and 2 pounds of the start. And measure the biochar by volume instead of weight. We want 2 gallons per bed. It's bay salt, we're going to go with 1 gallon. Okay, now that we have a lot of our ingredients prepared, at least the ones we need a lot of, we're going to go ahead and start mixing this soil. I've already laid down in here half of the soil that we're going to use, the Green Tree Ag Blend, and there's 3 cubic feet in there right now. We'll have 3 more cubic feet to add. Since we got half the soil in here, I'm going to go ahead and add half of each of all the amendments. We're going to mix it up with a shovel, and then we'll go ahead and dump in the rest of the soil and the rest of the amendments, and we'll mix that up. It's always a good idea to be having a dust mask. That way you're not breathing in a lot of the dust particles that you're going to stir up. I'm going to go ahead and let you know what we have, go over what we're mixing into this, just to recap. Each one of these beds is 8 cubic feet. 6 cubic feet of that is Green Tree Soil Company, their Ag Blend soil. It's got some amendments in it and it's some worm castings already, and that's the base for our mix. To that 6 cubic feet of soil mix, we're going to add 2 cubic feet total of different kinds of compost. We got 1 cubic foot of worm castings and 1 cubic foot of Vermont Compost Company Compost Plus. Now 1 cubic foot is 7.5 gallons, in case you didn't know. For each one of these beds, on top of that, we're adding in 5 pounds of rabbit manure, 1.5 pounds of the North Country Organics Grow, and 2 pounds of the North Country Organics Start. That's a total of 3.5 pounds of dry organic fertilizer for each 2 foot by 4 foot bed 8 cubic feet, like I said. We're also going to add 4 cups of green sand, 4 cups of azomite, 2 gallons of biochar, 1 gallon of bay salt, 4 cups of malted barley, and a ½ pound of insect frass. I'm going to go ahead and throw half of all of that in here, mix it up, and then we'll throw in the other half, and then we'll mix that up. Holy shit, that's not good. Probably could have been more careful with that. Okay, now we have one bed mixed up. This should be enough fertilizer in this one bed to sustain these crop through 2 cycles. Should have 2 harvests before we have to add anything in. But before we make that determination, we're going to have soil tests done up at the University of Maine in Orono. One thing I wanted to kind of go over at the end of the video is I didn't come up with all of this on my own. You know, these aren't all my ideas. Somebody's channel you really need to check out is Joshua Steensland. He's been doing these indoor living soil beds for several years now. I believe he's out in Oregon. We're up here in Maine. But really good channel. Also a good book to get into is a book called Teaming with Microbes. I just got done reading that. It's a good, recap, gets in depth if you really want to understand how microbiology works in the soil. I'm going to be making another video on how the original organic room went and share some photographs and kind of how that went, and also share the soil test I've already gotten back from the university, because that bed through 1 cycle is already loaded with enough nutrients for another whole one. Also kind of go over some Korean natural farming methods I'm using to get these results. But anyways, hope you like this. Give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below if you have any questions or you have anything to say, any ideas to put towards this. But anyways, organic's going to be the way to go in the future. Buying soil is just not going to be economically feasible through every crop. If you can keep the same soil, and then if you get into inoculating it with beneficial insects to try to take care of any bug problems you might have, instead of doing sprays and things like that. That's kind of the direction we're going here at Old Hickory's Cannabis. But anyways, till next time,